Welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. Our theme for 2025 is the future of work. Meaning is the new money. In a world shaped by rapid innovation and constant change, the pursuit of purpose and impact has never been more important. I'm Dr. John Dentico, your host, bringing over 30 years of experience in leadership, strategic thinking, and purpose-driven innovation. Here, we tackle the pressing challenges of our time, from the rise of artificial intelligence to the growing need for meaning in the workplace. Together, we'll uncover how leaders can ethically integrate AI to enhance decision-making and keep humanity at the heart of their organizations. Remember, amidst all the technological advancements, in the end, it's always about the people. This podcast is your resource for actionable tools, thought-provoking discussions, and inspiring stories. It's time to go beyond leadership development and focus on leadership impact, creating workplaces where people thrive, innovation flourishes, and meaning truly becomes the new currency. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now, let's throttle up and dive into today's episode. Hello again and welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. John Dentico. With me today is Lauren Perez. Lauren is a fiercely committed CEO helping business owners survive in a world where competition has no borders. As founder and CEO of LVP Solutions, LLC, a business strategy firm born not from a PowerPoint deck, but from real-world grit, Lauren brings decades of legal, lobbying, and entrepreneurial experience to the table. Her journey began not in a boardroom, but behind the wheel, driving back to New York City with dreams of Broadway stardom. Instead, she carved out a pioneering path in trademarks, branding, licensing, and globalization, long before most realized intellectual property would power the economy. After earning her paralegal certification at the New School for Social Research, she was invited to teach one of the school's first copyright law courses. That moment sparked the energy she now shares with clients, the empowerment that comes from knowing that you didn't even know what you needed to know. Later recruited to lead an international law firm's international property practice, she rose to principal and VP of regulatory matters. But when profit began to eclipse people, she walked away and launched LVP Solutions with one bold idea: help people build something that lasts, even if they don't know yet the rules of the game. Today, she helps founders make smart, strategic decisions in a digital economy where your $80 LLC competes with billion-dollar brands before your coffee's even brewed. She also founded the Small Business Forum, a vetted network of experts for entrepreneurs tired of playing guessing games. Lauren isn't chasing titles anymore. She's chasing truth, impact, and those light bulb moments when a business owner says, that's what I needed. I am truly pleased and delighted to have her here with me today on the podcast. Good morning, Lauren. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for that introduction. That's wonderful.
That's okay. Great. I'm glad you liked it. I will send you a copy. It's suitable for framing on your refrigerator.
And that's very good.
Okay, great. So listen, Lauren, let me ask you the first question. And that is, tell me a little bit more about yourself. Where did you grow up? And what were some of the early influences in your early life?
I was born in New York, but I spent my early childhood in Pennsylvania and eventually in Florida, but then came back to New York for college and as a young adult and early adultism, and then spent a lot of the rest of my adulthood in Florida before I came back to New York. My early influences is probably I've always been a person who doesn't really like to be told what to do. I like to do things on my own and find out things on my own. And I think that's just kind of pushed me to be, I explore things. I'm curious. I'm I just am determined and stubborn. And so it's kind of pointed me in that direction my whole life.
Stubbornness is not necessarily bad.
No.
You want to find your own way.
Yes.
That I think that's many times what happens. Let me ask you this. You left the security of a law firm and launched your own company. Was there a breaking point moment when you said, that's it, I'm out? Or
Yeah.
was it more of a slow burn into reinvention?
I think it was this slow burn, and then finally the laptop closed. Life happens. I mean, as you mentioned, I had come to New York. I was going to be an actress. I packed everything in the back of my car. I had $200 in my pocket, parked the car on the corner of the street where my grandparents lived. By the next morning, they'd been robbed, and I lost everything. So life happens. You adjust, you're flexible, and plans changed. But I had never dreamed of being in a law firm. That wasn't my life goal. So I was very fortunate. I had great people who supported me. They let me soar. I found myself in an incredible career journey in a corner office of a magnificent law firm. But I wasn't going to be an attorney tomorrow. And there's incredible pressure being an attorney. You're watching billable hours, responsible for marketing, and you have to pay attention to every second. There are things you're allowed to say, things you're not allowed to say. It's stressful. And at times, if people had a question or a problem that needed to be solved, I didn't want to have to watch a clock to do it. I wanted to help them do it. And I also had a young son at the time, and I was a single mother, and he needed me home more. And during those times, there wasn't anything like working from home. That didn't exist. It was pre-COVID. And I was traveling a lot. It was a slow burn, a lot of pressure, a lot of work. I was home with my son, commuting 3 hours a day. It was just time for the laptop to close, and it did. I literally on a Friday afternoon closed my laptop, and I said, done.
Yeah, I can understand. There comes times in your life when there are dramatic changes.
Yeah.
It's not just an orderly transition.
Yeah.
There's times, and I've lived through a couple of those, where it's just the door is slammed and you move on to something else. And
Right.
that's it.
I knew that something was buzzing in my background. I asked them about being able to work from home. The economy was bad here in the United States. The ability to work with clients whose billing was past due a certain amount was being curtailed. The firm itself was going through a time where they were assessing what was going to happen in succession. Because I wasn't an attorney, I knew I was being examined and looked at. That's a very uncomfortable position. I was one of the few non-attorneys that had reached a principal level. I felt uncomfortable. Up until that time, I've been such a rising star. It was an incredible career path. I needed to reclaim it. It was time.
Yeah, I get it. Listen, let me ask you this. You've said that most entrepreneurs don't even know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the biggest blind spots you see when someone opens their laptop and files that LLC?
There are very few products that people want to sell or distribute, especially in e-commerce, that aren't regulated by some agency, that don't have some type of required labeling that they don't know about, or they don't bother to check the brands or the names that they want to use. They don't understand that every single country, it has its own regulations and rules and governing agencies. If you pick a brand name that may be available in the United States, it may not be available in Mexico. One of the things that always bothers me when you hear, I'm not going to bother registering my trademark in China because they're not going to protect it anyway. Well, if you don't register your trademark in China, they're certainly not going to protect it. If you don't register your trademark in the United States, we're not going to protect it either. There are things you need to do beforehand, and that's what I'm all about here. If you learn what you need to know to do this business, you can take the steps to do it right. There are tricks of the game. If you have $500 and that's all you have to spend to start a business, let's talk about how to smartly spend that $500. I think that's what makes me different. I'm not going to tell you you can't do anything because it's going to cost you $5,000. If you don't have $5,000, then you can't spend $5,000. The important thing to realize is that when you do business and you have a website, the internet is everywhere. You are doing business globally on the internet. You aren't necessarily competing with Procter & Gamble, Unilever, these big multinational companies, they know the rules, even if you don't. And they don't care if you go out of business tomorrow. Even Amazon, these big platforms, they have a lot of available tools for you. And their sellers are bringing us all of these tools are great. But the more of their tools you use, the more of your income and revenue they're taking away from you. Working with consultants and with people who know what they're doing can really be advantageous. The whole idea behind, you mentioned the Small Business Forum, was finding people to work with who know what they're doing, who aren't going to just take your money. I'm horrible with money. I thought if I could work and not take your money, I would love to do that. You just need to know what you don't know so that you can make some money.
Well, that makes perfect sense. I mean, you talk about LinkedIn, marketing, the internet, and different avenues. We talked about online training before the podcast began. There's just so much capability out there to get your message out, to get your brand out, and different things like that. And that doesn't even include what it is you're offering people. What separates you from everybody else, so to speak, and why people might be interested. So it's a very complex series of interrelated issues.
Yeah.
That one must somehow master or get through in order to make a business work.
Yeah. And it makes it more difficult. I think about something as simple as a skincare lotion. You have labeling requirements in every single country of the world. And some of them make you, because it's a product that goes on your skin. So sometimes in most countries of the world, you have to be registered in order to distribute it. You have to have particular labeling in their language and ingredients. Not every country requires the same ingredients beyond the label. And maybe they're in different languages. Well, what if your container is this size? How are you going to fit it all there? You know? So, I mean, so they're just, it's not as easy as it sounds.
No.
You know, so it's just a lot to think about.
Yeah. It's amazing. Doing business is easy and then not so easy.
Right.
There's this ebb and flow with it.
Yeah.
Sure, anybody can get online. Anybody can go down and get an LLC. Sure.
Right.
Anybody can get online, get a website, a domain. Doesn't cost a lot of money. But then now what? Now some solopreneurs have mastered it, did a great job at it. Maybe a lot of that came from their prior business experience, and they figured out, okay, here's the 11 steps that I have to take in order to really make this work. But a lot of it is, for many people, guesswork.
Yeah. And a lot of people have made a lot of money. Platforms like Amazon have really done wonderful things for a lot of these third-party sellers. Their marketplace has been a phenomenal resource for a lot of the small businesses out there. I mean, they have made most of their money. Amazon's most of the profit has come from the third-party marketplace, which is really interesting because as supportive as they have been, the third-party sellers, it's been a balancing act for Amazon because they've also wanted to attract the brand owners. So that dynamic between brand owners and these third-party sellers has been like this. It's been a fascinating evolution of intellectual property in this country.
Yeah, I agree. Let me go back to something you said. You founded the Small Business Forum to connect entrepreneurs with vetted experts. Why was that important to you, and how did you vet the experts in an age where everyone has a business card and a pitch?
The Small Business Forum is no longer active, although I would like to reactivate it. When I started my business, I was, this woman in her 40s. You had to go start networking. I mean, that's how you just have to start going out there and handing out business cards. You join all these associations, and in the meantime, you have to make money. You are starting out by yourself. You have to network, market, and start pulling in revenue too. So you're strung out. You start going to all these meetings, marketing things, and you find yourself overwhelmed because everybody in that room is doing exactly the same thing. At the time, it was predominantly single women in their usually same age bracket, same demographic. You're talking about 40, some men there. But everyone was handing out business cards, giving their elevator pitches, and claiming to be experts. Every single person was an expert. And, for me personally, though, I happen to have come after 15 years or more of a legal business background. And I knew what I was talking about. I knew my stuff. So I quickly was able to start doing speeches and seminars and webinars to these people on branding and starting their own business. And quickly learned that a lot of people who claimed they were experts really weren't. And that concerned me because you had these, predominantly single women at that point who had been divorced or whatever, trying to do nothing else but put together a business to support their kids. And there was a real need for them to learn who were the experts and who weren't the experts, give them the resources they really needed to pour together these businesses. And it needed vetting. Also, what I found was when you had everybody individually marketing themselves, it was too overwhelming. It was just way too overwhelming, and nobody was making enough money. It was much more helpful to small businesses if there could be a collective marketing of comprehensive services. It was going to be much more helpful for small businesses to have a suite of services offered to them as startups than just go to one person for social marketing, one person to protect their brand. It was going to add up to too many costs. So I came up with a small business forum where we would vet purported experts. We would have to verify 5 years of actual experience in the field. In exchange, we would give them some sort of exclusive territory or exclusive subject matter expertise and provide them with additional sources of revenue so that they could publish books or articles. Once a client came to them, we would give them that client. For the small businesses, they had one single place to come to. They were absolutely certain the experts they were able to contact through the small business forum had been vetted. They were, in fact, experts. Once they accessed our experts, there was a shared collective pool of revenue that we all shared in. It made so much more sense because the actual experts had additional streams of revenue and were offering a valued service to small businesses.
Oh, great. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
man, that sounds wonderful. I mean, what a very programmed perspective and a programmed approach to it rather than just, oh, yeah, we're a group of experts. Let's get together and do something.
You needed to attract, you had to offer something to these experts to get them to join, and you had to have the additional stream of revenue. Everyone was there pushing out business cards for a reason. We all needed to make money. You needed to pull that all together. I still think it's a wonderful idea. There's a vulnerability when you start your own business and when you're a solopreneurship. I mean, it's just, like I said, people don't know what they don't know.
Do you think you can get it restarted again?
I think there is, especially here in New York. LinkedIn is a great resource. I have mixed feelings about LinkedIn. I have really mixed feelings about LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a place where you go for business, to network with professionals. I do not believe that LinkedIn is a place where professionals necessarily go to find clients, because it reminds me of those places where I went to when I first started my business. Everyone is out there handing out business cards. You're not going to find your small business clients that need your help on LinkedIn, where is other professionals. And that's not where my clients are going to be on Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram. They're not going to be on LinkedIn. Those are my colleagues, my peers, who I would go to find other vetted experts. People think they need to spend more time a little bit thinking about the value of these social media, because that's one thing that I spent a lot of time on these last few months looking at. Because the first thing you're told as a professional is, oh, you have to be on LinkedIn. You have to be there every day, and you have to send out 3 to 5 posts. That doesn't do me really any good. I love, and everyone knows LVP Solutions, Lauren Perez out there in the professional world. And that's not going to make me any money.
All right. Very interesting. I have a LinkedIn expert coming on for an interview, and I'm going to ask him some very interesting questions based on what you said. I will not use your name. I would agree with you. My experience is very much along the line that you've said. I think there
everyone
are.
has told me the opposite. I've thought about it. I found it. I've played with it, and it doesn't do it for me. I think it's a way for other professionals to show other professionals how important they are, and it doesn't work as a marketing tool. It may work to find jobs, to do that kind of professional networking, but it's not to get you clients.
Very interesting. And the connection, we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Who would disagree with you that it is a client resource beyond anyone's imagination?
Yeah.
We'll shake that out and see what Let's see what pops out of the tree, so to speak. It's going to be very, very.
Let me know what he says.
I will do that. Let me ask you this question. You've talked about your approach to strategy. It's part legal, part street smarts, part common sense. What makes your method different from traditional consultants or lawyers?
I don't give up until I find the answer. I just don't believe there's not a solution. I am really good at finding cracks in walls and getting through open windows. I am remarkably good at that. I'm really good at what I do. I also think that sometimes I had a client who was determined to do something that I knew was ethically on a gray line. I was somewhat appalled, and not something that I just was comfortable with. But I knew that this person wasn't doing it because she wanted to do something unethical, immoral, wrong, or illegal, and had no clue that it was. So while she's talking to me about this, in my head in the background I was working how I could spin this to make it ethical, to make it moral, to turn it around so that she could propose it in a way that would make both her and I okay with this. And I did. I found a way to change the perspective, the proposal that would make her into a good person. And that's what I'm able to do. It's problem solving. I've talked about this before, where it's that human connection that makes all the difference in the world. And that's where I think the difference between AI and human beings will always be there. I'm not sure that ability to just acknowledge the need to be moral, human, kind, and empathetic you get from being a human being, and me understanding this person enough to know that she's not immoral and she's not unethical and that is not what she would ever want to be. So I needed to find a solution for her. That's the difference.
Great. That's a great explanation. It reminds me a little bit about my own work in the past. A lot of it came from learning how to fix a car where there were no instructions. I can see the problem. How am I going to fix this? Well, I've invented a solution, and it works. It's safe, and it works. So that's kind of the way I like to think of it.
Yeah.
I think of myself as the kind of person who can take a problem or an idea and turn it into an actual process or practice. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the idea. Let me show you how you can take that idea and teach it as a process or a way of doing things. I've always thought that was one of the things I really loved doing. When people go, oh, yeah, this will never work. No, wait a minute. Let's take it apart and let's see what pieces we can put together either to teach it or to repair it. I think you're absolutely right. Looking for the cracks looking for the cracks and understanding how to fill those cracks is in many times a real, real gift.
I think you don't accept no. You just don't. I also don't like not knowing something. So if there's something I don't know today, I will be an expert by tomorrow.
It's so funny you should say that. Brings back memories. When I was a young naval officer, I worked for captains of ships, and that was absolutely the mindset. There is no. We got to find a way. Find a way. Do something, There is no book here. There is no written procedures. And that was also part of this. Let me invent it. Let me see. Let me take this apart. Let's talk about guys and say, what do you think? We need this. We need that. I know how to fix this. This is what we're going to do. And it would work. And I think that is absolutely spot on.
Yep.
Don't take no for an answer. So give me some time. I'll figure it out. But I need time I need time to invest myself into it so that I can see where I'm going with it and how I can bring it to fruition.
Two thoughts. That one of the people who lived by that motto, there's no such thing as no, is Vince McMahon. I told you I worked for the World Wrestling Federation years ago. Can I do this? Even if the answer was no way, you don't say that to him. Don't tell me no. So you found a way not to tell him no. So that was a very awesome first lesson. I mean, you found a way to tell me, yes, you know it's not an option. You find a way. One of the things that I talk about a lot, even on my website for LVP Solutions, is believing in light bulb moments. If a problem is presented to you and you don't have an immediate solution, sometimes you take the time because you know that eventually, boom, you're going to have that light bulb moment. It's going to happen. A lot of the major turning points in my professional career, even personal, has happened during those light bulb moments. Deciding to become accredited as a mediator. In the middle of the night, I thought, why don't I do this? It'll be great. It's perfect for the clients I work with. Of course, that's what I should do. And I was enrolled in a course within a matter of days, a light bulb moment. Those light bulb moments feed us, it gives us energy. I believe in that wholeheartedly.
Wow, that's absolutely fantastic. I had a guest on named Stephen Puri who worked in Hollywood for many years and now has an app that he's working on to help people through light bulb moments in a manner of speaking. And I said, Stephen, I find that my light bulb moments happen when I'm behind the wheel of a car.
That can be
I
dangerous.
said, I'm driving along. My conscious mind is driving the car and paying attention to traffic, but my subconscious mind is noodling, working the backside of it. He said, that's interesting because the two places where you get those light bulb moments are driving a car and taking a shower.
Taking a shower,
He
right?
said, that's the light bulb places.
Light bulb moments.
So maybe we just can't take enough showers in a manner of speaking. So it's kind of funny. I always found that when I'm stuck, I'll get behind the wheel of a car and I'll drive a little bit, go shopping or do something like that, that I'll go, wow. And every time there's a breakthrough. Every time there's this, wait a minute, you're looking at the wrong thing. You have to look over here. Accept and to engage the subconscious on that level for light bulb moments is just, and you have to find your own way. I mean, it may not be showers and it may not be driving a car. It may be taking a walk.
I think you also have to give yourself permission to wait. That may also come with age. When we're young, we recognize it. But to give yourself permission to just chill and know that they come and that you don't have to have the answers immediately. You have to give yourself permission to just allow the light bulb moments to happen. And that takes perhaps a little age.
I can't agree with you more. I tell the story every once in a while. I used to be a terrible, terrible listener. I got that New York thing going on. My dad never listened to anything. He was always quick with the words. I picked up a bad habit. And I recognized one day I wanted to be a better listener. And for me, learning to be a better listener was all about waiting.
Yeah.
Was all about saying, okay, hey, calm down, relax, listen, listen, relax, listen. And you learn so much more. Yeah. Not only that, but when you respond, it's a much more thoughtful response. At least I hope that's coming across today.
And then
one day I was brushing by some other podcasts. And I landed on the podcast from the actress, Katie Sackhoff. Katie Sackhoff has been in Battlestar Galactica. Okay. She was in the new version. She was the deputy in Meyer, which is a very popular TV series. Okay. She's always the tough chick. She's always the woman who, she's armed to the teeth and ready to go kind of a person. But a great soul. You just get that from her. And one of the things she said that landed so impactful on me was that when she started her podcast, the one thing she had to learn to do was to be still. So here's the question. Let me hear your thoughts. Let me be still. It's your turn. You're the star, as I like to say. It's a very interesting thing. Waiting, allowing the subconscious to work, and knowing, confident, that light bulb moment will come. It will come. Oh. You just got to give it space, and you got to give it some time. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. We're getting close to the end. So I'd like to ask you a question. Here you are back in New York with your business. What do you see the future holds for you? Where are you looking to go in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years of what you want to achieve, what you want to put your imprimatur on? Tell me, where do you see the future for you?
I want LVP Solutions to grow. I'm not interested in running a big business. I would like a few more clients. I would like the mediation aspect of LVP Solutions to grow. I think maintaining business relationships is vital, especially in the arena of licensing, merchandising, e-commerce, and globalization. In those areas, instead of rushing to litigation, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, years of your time, and ruining global goodwill, you can facilitate the parties to come to a mutually acceptable settlement agreement. It just makes business sense. I think you can work with an accredited subject matter expert to get that done. It's just smart. I would like to see LVP Solutions grow in that. I'm not interested in this part of my life in any kind of career journey path. I've done that. I have no interest in doing that. I have no interest in leading a stressful life or a tense-filled life or anything like that. I really, my joy right now is working. I'm good at what I do. I know my stuff. I'm very proud of what I do. My greatest joy is just seeing my clients succeed. That just makes me happy. So I want to find happy. That's what this time of my life is about. And for me, that's about working and just being content and doing what's right and helping other people.
Making a difference.
That's what I want to make a difference. Talking to people like you and spreading the word around, that's what it should be all about.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Listen, this has been a brilliant conversation. I can't
Content.
thank you enough for your time and your work, and I wish you every single success in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And it's been an honor and a privilege to have you here. Just really a wonderful message. I can't thank you enough. Great
Thank you.
things for you in the future. Stay safe in New York.
Good luck
Okay.
with you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.